Hello, BookTube community. First of all, let me say I'm very sorry for not posting a lot more videos than I usually do. I usually do my clicker training. I have plans this week to do a bunch of the ground training exercises from the book that I didn't like. However, work has thrown me a bit of a curveball. I'm covering for another person at work, and that person does a lot more hours than what I regularly do. So, yay for the hours, because I do need the money, but it's kept things kind of crazy here. Also, I've got a change coming in at the end of the week, well, beginning of next week, which is going to be very involved. It's going to take a lot of planning to get done, so I've been very distracted. Still love you guys. I'm still going to be doing my book club stuff, but just for the next little bit, not as much. So that being said, I did have some time today to finish a book, and I don't know if you guys remember me doing a to be read earlier, but the first one of the to be read was the Carousel by Belva Plain. Now, if you guys watched my to be read with this one, I seemed a little bit intrigued, but like it was a book, and I honestly picked it up because it was on the top of my romance novel stack, and really I wasn't expecting much out of it. I didn't know the author. It didn't seem that interesting. And then I started reading it. First and foremost, this is not a romance novel. It is not anything like a romance novel. And that too is it is a great big long book. It's like 421 pages, which is one of the longest books that I have dealt with that isn't Stephen King. And it's totally outside of my comfort zone. It's not something that I would read. I devoured this book. I loved this book. It's about a family who is like filthy rich. They basically run a town. And the author does a really good job in influencing snobbiness into these rich folk, even the ones that aren't as bad as most rich folk, but the snobbiness is there. It's just taken for granted. And yet these characters are sympathetic. These characters are lovable. Even the one that's really I'm going to say a brat, an airheaded brat that always wants more money. You do feel some sympathy for him. Not a lot, and especially near the end. I really disliked him, but he was a character that you felt sympathetic for, and yet you really disliked. So anyway, we've got this rich family. There's a patriarch who you immediately love from the get-go because he's one that uses his money for good. He's one that gives a lot to society. He's got oodles and oodles and oodles of land that he's cherished, like forests and that kind of thing. And then, sorry, that's India. And then the patriarch steps down and says, okay, you kids now run the show. And the kids get a hold of foreign investors. Well, one kid gets a hold of foreign investors who wants to buy a parcel of that land for $28 million, and he's blinded by that $28 million, and that's all he wants, to the point where he's bullying his other family members, and you see the real evil of him. And then you get introduced to the wayward daughter of the family who was sent off to boarding school and never came back and is totally eccentric and kind of a wingding, and she's calling and demanding to have a quarter of the shares of the company, and if she doesn't have a quarter of the shares of the company and be bought out, she's going to sell her shares to strangers who are going to take over the company. And then the one fellow uses that as, see, we need to buy this $28 million, or sell this $28 million project to buy her out, and it becomes really, really ugly. And then you find out that the reason she's being very ugly is because she's been a victim of something that's just dreadful. And the daughter of one of the sons, who is like 5, is also being a victim of something horrible, something absolutely just sickening, by the same perpetrator. And I'm not going to get more into it because I don't want to ruin the surprise and ruin the depth of the article, but the author does such a good job in creating a victim that at first you just don't like, and both victims you don't like because they're snobby, they're outrageous, they get catered to, like the younger daughter is spoiled rotten, and you just dislike her. And then the author does a good job of spinning that around and turning it into, well, you don't like her because she's going through hell, and she takes a different outlook on what this kind of thing will do to people. Like, not all victims will cower away. Some victims are just angry and will rage against everybody. the twist in the end, and then the twist again in the end is phenomenal. It's a book I couldn't put down. It's a book I've lost hours going into work for. It's a book that I'm going to borrow. Let anybody who wants to borrow it in my family and in my group of friends, because it's a quick read. It's an entertaining read, and yet it makes you sit up and think, people are human. You know, I think that it's something that you guys should probably read, even if you're not into it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's something that I really enjoyed sitting down and reading. I was actually turning off the TV to read. So, The Carousel by Belva Plain, sorry. I'm actually going to try to find more of her works, because there was an expert, or I don't know how to say it, for her next book, available July 1996, so it's an older book, called Promises, and even the little bit that she wrote in that, I want to read more of it. So, very good book, a very good author, and I think it's something that more and more people should read. So thank you very much, guys, and I will keep you posted with the different changes in my life, and we'll be going from there. Take care, guys.